I always wonder if you take this breath with me when you listen to this podcast. So if you do, let me know. Hello, aloha, and welcome, beautiful people. My name is Magdalena, and this is another episode of my Touchful Podcast. So, a place in which I talk about everything that touches me. And today's topic is. We will see how it's going to be. We will see if I even publish this episode, or will I be too afraid and too embarrassed, because today's topic is about fear. I want to tell you a little bit about fear in general, how I understand it, what it is. I want to tell you why I even got inspired to record this episode. And then I will be talking about my fears in my business, and also my fears in life. But before we start, like always, a short introduction, because maybe you listen to me for the first time and you have no idea who I am. Maybe somebody recommended this podcast to you. So I am a practitioner and teacher of Hawaiian healing art, Hawaiian massage, called Lomi Lomi. I'm a body worker, and I'm from Poland. I live in Iceland, and right now the sun is shining in my face, making this topic a little bit easier. So let's go. Let's dive into this fearful topic. So, why I even want to talk about this, about fear? First of all, because it's not an easy topic, and I like to talk about things that are not easy. I like to talk about things that feel truthful and authentic, and at the same time they feel a little bit scary. And talking about my personal fears feels scary, but also it puts me in this vulnerable position, and it is a position in which I like to put myself. I like to open my heart and show my vulnerability, because I have a feeling that it makes me stronger. So I want to talk about fear because I have a feeling that our fears, thrive in the shadow, that they thrive because we don't talk about them. You know what I mean? That something that is unspoken, something that is pushed under the surface, grows into this enormous size of some monster that we keep inside. And I have a feeling that fear very often connects with shame. At least some of the things that I want to talk about today, it's like a mixture of fear and shame. And they thrive in the shadow. When I was a psychologist, because before I was a massage therapist, for those of you who don't know, I was a psychologist. So all these years of my work as a psychologist, and now working as a massage therapist, and just simply living my life and being in this constant path of, I don't like this word, but let's say it, of self-development, I learned that when you talk about something openly, when you drag it to the surface, when you put it on a table, you put it in full light, it turns out to be less scary than you think. Or maybe I should be talking about myself and about my own experiences. So whenever I do it, it feels less scary. It gets smaller. Something that I thought was so embarrassing or so huge that I was so afraid to talk about it, to open my heart and share my feelings. The moment I do it is the moment of freeing myself from it. It's a moment of huge relief. It's a very often moment of clarification, and it's a moment of empowerment. So it just now came to my mind that this episode is totally selfish. I just want to talk about my fears and get this feeling of relief and empowerment. But also, I hope to inspire you to maybe be more open about talking about your fears, your shame, something that you keep in the shadow, something that you keep under the surface, because you have a feeling that if you talk about it, everybody will turn their back on you. So I got inspired to record this episode particularly now by two of my clients, two of my massage clients. Because with these episodes, a little side talk, with these episodes, all these episodes of Touchful Podcast, I have some kind of a plan. I have topics written down that I would like to talk about, but then comes this huge urge to talk about something. Like right now, it's this huge urge to record an episode about fear. And out of a sudden, I just don't remember any other topic that I would like to talk about. And all the other topics, they seem completely irrelevant because there's this huge urge to talk about this particular one. And in this case, it's fear. So I feel that I got inspired by my two massage clients from last week. So one of them was my regular client or returning client. So it wasn't his first massage, not even the second or the third. I don't know how many times he has already been on the massage sessions with me. And the more, at least in my case, the more you come to massages with me, the kind of like a stronger therapeutic connection is being created between us. So I always have some kind of a talk before the massage with all my clients, regardless if they come for the first time or if they're returning clients. We always have a moment to talk, and so I can get to know their needs and, how can I help them in this particular day. And then my client, this returning client, he told me about one fear that he had inside him. He told me that I need to tell you this before I lay down on a massage bench because I just need to get rid of it. And then he shared a story like on the previous massage session, so the last massage session that he had with me, that he had a feeling that he might get an erection. And then he had this thought that I cannot come back to this massage ever again because what if this happens and then it will be embarrassing or she will think something about me. And I absolutely get this fear because that was not my first conversation like this. I massage a lot of men and I know that many of them have this fear of what if I will have an erection on a massage bench? What will you think about me? And I was so grateful for my client dragging this fear out of the shadows and putting it on the table in full light, because then we could talk about it. I could explain to him what a physiological erection is, and we could just completely get rid of that fear. And it was something that totally, completely stopped bothering him and his mind, so he could enjoy the massage without thinking about, oh my God, what if something happens? And I also told him something like this, that, if this was the reason that you never come back to massage with me, that's a very stupid reason. So I'm very, very, very glad that you told me about this fear. And I really was. And this was the moment that showed me, not for the first time, but that really, really showed me again that fears thrive in the shadow. And the moment you talk about something, it is very often less scary, and it turns out that it's actually not a big deal. It was a big deal just in your head. And another situation was a new client. So a person who has never been to a Lomi with me. We didn't know each other, and she told me that somehow she was so stressed being on her way to my massage studio, that she was so stressed and somehow so afraid, and that she didn't know what to expect. And again, I felt so grateful that she brought this up because it was her first massage ever. So she had no idea what to expect. But she shared it with me. Again, she dragged this fear out. She didn't pretend that she was okay, but she dragged this fear out, put it on a table so we could look at it together in full light, and I could explain everything to her, how the massage looks like, what she can expect, and make this fear dissolve or disappear or shrink. And that was another beautiful moment that showed me that this is courage. This is real courage, to admit that I am stressed. I am actually afraid of this and this and this, because what if this and this and this? So these two people, and I'm extremely grateful for, inspired me to talk about my own fears in business and in life. Because I have a feeling that in some cases, my own fears stop me from taking action, from making a change. And part of me hopes that if I will talk about them out loud to you, that something will change, something will shift. Okay, so let's go. I have a list. I made a list of my fears right now on this list because it might change when I talk. Maybe there will be more coming. But right now on this list, I have 5 business fears and 3 life fears. So let's start with these business fears. So what I am afraid of in my business, which again I want to remind you, it's a business that is based on massage sessions, and teaching. I offer individual Lomi Lomi trainings here in Iceland. And the first thing that I immediately put on my list was fear of being forgotten. And this is something that I experienced quite strongly over the last months because I was not massaging for almost 4 months. I was not working for almost 4 months because I needed a long vacation. And then when I finally came back to Iceland and I was ready to reopen my studio, there was this creeping fear in me that what if people forgot about you, Magdalena? What if nobody will come? And that was real. That was a real fear, even though there was nothing logically that would back up this fear, because I had my clients constantly writing me messages over these 4 months, like when I will be back and when the massage studio will be open and can they book a massage. So there was nothing to logically support this fearful thought that I had in my head, but it was still there. And I was extremely stressed when I reopened my booking calendar, and I was like, how is it going to be? Do people still remember about me? And it turned out that they do, which I'm extremely grateful for. And over the last month, when I came back to massaging, I had so many of my returning clients coming back to receive a massage from me, and also just sharing that, it's so good that you are back. I missed you. And it was so heartwarming and so beautiful to hear, and it meant for me more than you can imagine. I also realized that this fear of being forgotten was something that at some point started to fuel up my social media activity. So I just want to very shortly remind you, because maybe you know about it, or tell you for the first time if you don't know about it, that I decided to pull back from social media, and now my social media activity is, at some weeks it's completely zero, at some weeks it's close to zero, but it's nothing like it used to be. I used to be very, very, very active on my social media, on Instagram and on Facebook. And at the beginning, I had a lot of fun with it. But later, the more active I was, the more it was because I was fueled with this fear of being forgotten. That if I will stop publishing, then people will forget me. And this is the moment of this episode when the fear merges with shame. That talking about it feels embarrassing. But it was like this. So I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't. It really was like this. That at some point I didn't want to be on social media anymore, but I had a feeling that I had to be there because otherwise I will be forgotten, and I was afraid of that. And that's a huge, huge, huge topic, me breaking up with social media or changing my relationship with social media, and I will record a whole another episode about it. But I want to mention it in this moment because partly my unhealthy relationship with social media was fueled by fear of being forgotten. Another fear in my business is, I called it on my list of fears, I called it the fear of not being wanted, of being not wanted in my business. And This is a fear that has nothing to do with my massages, because I know and I deeply feel it that my massages are wanted and they are needed, and that in this area of my business, I am wanted and needed. And I'm extremely grateful for this, for all my returning clients, for all my new clients who trust me. But there are some ideas that I have in my mind and in my heart. Some ideas for workshops. Sometimes they're in-person workshops, real-life workshops here in Iceland, in my massage studio. Sometimes these are online workshops. I have ideas for some digital products, like online courses and trainings inspired by Lomi Lomi and by Hawaiian wisdom. I have some ideas for digital products like meditations and tools for body work in your own home, self-massage trainings, and so on and so forth. I have so many of them, like lists and lists and lists of ideas for products. And I don't make them happen. And always my excuse was, I don't have time. That my massage business, my massage studio and my massage, the massages that I give, it's my main focus. I don't have time for all these ideas and projects and workshops and courses and meditations and whatnot, no matter how amazing they feel. I just have no time for that. But that is not true. And I only realized it recently, that the real reason why I don't create all these events, products, opportunities is because deep inside me, there is this fear that they will be not wanted, that nobody will buy them, that I will create a product or a workshop, yeah, let's say a workshop, and nobody will sign up. And what then? And it's again another moment of this episode when I feel the shame, and I feel fear merges with shame. Oh, I knew that this episode is not going to be easy. But at the same time, like I told you at the beginning, I feel some kind of liberation by talking about it, by putting myself out there on the arena and letting you know that, yeah, this is what I'm afraid of. You can think that it's silly, you can think that it's stupid, that it's irrelevant, that it's illogical, but that's my fear, that nobody will come to my workshops, nobody will buy my products. And this is something that stopped me from creating more masterclasses, massage masterclasses. I created 2 masterclasses for massage professionals. One is about breath, it's called Breathwork for Body Workers. And one is about holding space for your clients in massage and how to do it. And I created them and they were selling, not like crazy, but I got some sales. I think also less sales than I was expecting. So maybe that was something that confirmed my fear, that nobody wants things that you create. It's this horrible, horrible voice in your head. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's this voice that is so mean. And it just keeps telling you, or in my case, it keeps telling me that, you see, nobody wants you. Nobody wants what you create. And again, I know that there is no logic behind it. It doesn't have a support in the real life, in reality. But it's there, and it has been stopping me from creating workshops for you. Whether workshops here in my massage studio, and I have so many brilliant, wonderful, genius, amazing ideas, and I know how to do it. I've been holding workshops for people before, and I've been hosting a women's circle for 3 years. I know how to work with group. I am confident about my abilities, but it's this fear that it doesn't matter. Your abilities they don't matter. Nobody will come. And it actually feels really, really, really liberating to talk about it. It really does. Oh my gosh, I see the next fear on my list, and I was like, oh yeah, if you think that these two were easy to talk about, then wait for the third one. So, the third fear that I want to talk about, I put it on a list, and then when I put it on the list of my business fears, I was like, you cannot say it out loud, Magdalena. But I'm like, yeah, I can, and I will. And this is a fear of, oh, shame creeping up again. This is a fear of competition, and I don't feel it that much anymore. But there was a moment when I started teaching here in Iceland, and my students started to open their own massage practices and getting their own clients. And I was talking to a colleague of mine and sharing with him, what I do, that I teach, and then like this student opened his massage practice, and that student opened her massage practice, and that's so cool. And then he told me that, but they're your competition. You are creating a competition. And the truth is that it's not that he planted a seed of fear in my head, in my mind. I'm not going to blame it on him. I think that this seed was there before. He just put a lot of water on it and allowed it to grow. And there was a moment in my teaching career, I want to say, there was a moment in my life when I was really thinking that I'm creating a competition for myself. Like, the more people will be in Iceland, it's such a tiny country, and everybody is here in Reykjavik, which is, like, not so many people live here. And there was a part of me thinking that this is creating competition, and that they are going to steal my clients, and it's going to be so hard for me, and so on and so forth. And again, I want to let you know, like, from this meta level, like right now, I feel such a wave of shame going through my whole body that I have a feeling that my whole face is red. I don't see myself in a mirror, but that's how I feel right now. It feels extremely hard to talk about it, because there is also this part of me that doesn't believe in competition. There is this part of me that, from the bottom of my heart, I believe that there is place for everybody under this big, beautiful blue sky. And that I'm so proud of my students, and I love them so much. And I want to have more and more and more and more of them in Iceland and in Poland, where I also teach. And some of my students are abroad in Austria or in the UK. And I'm so proud of you. If you listen to this, people, my dear students, you know that I have you in my heart. And I'm so proud of you. And at the same time, I want to be super truthful and authentic and open and vulnerable. And I want you all to know that there was a time when this part of me that was afraid of competition was super strong and really driving me crazy with all these nasty talks that, they're gonna steal all your clients and you're just gonna end up poor and homeless. Basically, that's the narration around it. It's completely illogical and totally exaggerated. I need to take a breath because it's really challenging to talk about it, and at the same time it's amazingly liberating. And still, I don't even know if I will post this episode. I mean, if you listen to it, you know that it's been posted, but I know that I need to finish recording it. I need to listen to it, and then I will decide how I feel about it. So yeah, the fear of competition that was super strong and eating me from the inside, like eating me alive. And now, is this voice completely gone? No, absolutely not. I have so many voices inside me, but I kind of keep this voice low. And also, by talking about it openly, putting this fear on the table in full light, I feel that I really take away the power that this fear had over me, that it doesn't have this power over me anymore. And this is the beauty and the transformation of being vulnerable, of living a touchful life, a life in which you don't armor yourself, don't shield yourself, don't numb yourself, you don't pretend that things don't touch you while they do, but you embrace the fact that, yeah, there are things that touch me, and some of them eat me alive, and I want to talk about it. Okay, another fear. It's something that even has a psychological fancy name, and it's something that you probably heard about. It's called the imposter syndrome. And it is defined in many ways. For the sake of this podcast, this episode, and for the sake of my story, I'm going to define it as me doubting my abilities and me feeling like a fraud. I think that is the best way I can put it into words. That me feeling like a fraud and being afraid that you will find out. By you, I mean my clients, my students, my followers, my subscribers, my friends, and so on and so forth. So what I was so afraid of, and why did I feel like a fraud? So this whole imposter syndrome, it's something that I experienced especially strongly last year, starting in July, and then throughout the year, all the way to the end of the year. And it started in July when I had a depressive episode, and it was connected with somebody stealing my pictures from Instagram and pretending to offer, or not pretending, or like advertising sexual and erotic massages using my pictures of my face. And that was a moment that really crushed me completely. I was not working for the whole July. I was having a depressive episode completely and totally. And that was also a time when my physical health started to worsen. So the time was passing on, and I came back to massaging from August last year. I was massaging again, but I was actually feeling worse and worse. I had less and less stamina and strength, and just I was not interested in anything. And then my physical health started to be worse and worse. I got tired really easily and quickly, and then I got a shoulder injury. So it was an old injury, something that I was hoping at the time that it's a long time gone, but it wasn't, and it came back. And I was in pain. I was in physical pain. If you remember that time, if you've been with me on social media, for example, I was talking about it a little. I was never coating my life with sugar and pretending that everything is amazing when it wasn't. So I was talking about it a little, that I felt low. But the truth is that I felt much worse than I ever showed it on social media. And I was afraid that if people will find out, they will think about me as a fraud. That, because my job is to take care of other people, to take care of their bodies, also to take care of their mental well-being and emotional well-being and spiritual well-being while they are in my massage studio. And at the same time, I couldn't take care of my own physical well-being and mental and emotional and spiritual well-being. And to my biggest surprise, my massages were still really good, or they were actually better than ever. But I felt so bad. I felt so low. I felt so weak, and I felt so sick. And at the same time, I knew it, I could feel it, and I heard it from my clients that my massages are better than ever, which created even more fear of being an imposter, of being a fraud. Like, I cannot tell these people that I'm barely functioning. Like, what would they think about me? And it's been with me for all that time, since July last year till almost the end of the year. And now I feel it's gone, and also talking about it again feels liberating. It feels transformational to talk about the fear that I had. And every now and then I still have this imposter syndrome and this thought that, like, I am nobody. I don't know that much. I am not that skilled. I am not that good. There are so many people who are better teachers, better practitioners. Who am I to teach? Who am I to tell people to breathe like I did in the previous episode? Like, who am I? I'm such a fraud. But the difference that is now is that I am totally aware of this voice, and I know that it's this imposter syndrome and that it's not true. Because again, it doesn't have any support in reality, it doesn't have any support in facts, it doesn't have any support in the words of my clients and my students or my friends. If anything, then it's totally opposite. I've never been showered with so much love and so much appreciation for my work like over the last month when I started working again. And if you are my massage client and you listen to this, I really want to thank you, for your trust, for your openness, for every kind word that you offered me, because it was much more needed than you could ever think of. And now I am physically amazing. I feel healthy, I feel strong, I feel good. So the 3 or almost 4 months vacation that I had, it helped me a lot. And it also turned out, when I did all the possible medical tests, that I just had huge deficiencies of almost everything, like vitamin B12 and iron and D vitamin and whatnot. So I changed my diet completely. I changed my physical activity. I changed my mentality around how I feel, and I feel much better than ever. But that time was hard, and that fear, creeping fear of what if people find out? They will think that I'm a fraud. That at that time, that fear was super present in my business area in Aloha Magdalena's heart. And finally, the fear number 5 that I have here on my list is is the fear of what will people think when they find out about all these fears. And I think that in the essence, it's a fear of being criticized. Because the truth is that I never, over the 5 years of massaging and running a massage business and also being very present in social media, so putting myself out there, I never received a severe criticism aimed at myself or my business. And I'm super grateful for that. It never happened. But there is this fear of me, fear of what will people think, what will people say, that my name will be ruined. This is also part of the reason why I had this depressive episode in July last year, when my pictures were stolen and used for advertising erotic massages, because there is this fear of what will people think about me, and I am ruined and my name is ruined, even though it was not true, because it wasn't. But it was really strongly connected to that fear. But I put this fear on the list for one more reason, because I feel that this is the fear that stops me from getting more, like putting myself more out there. So getting more recognition, getting more, how do you say it? What is the word for that? This is the moment when my English is limiting me. Like having the bigger range. You should see me right now, like I'm making all these crazy gestures with my hands, trying to find out the right word that I need right now, and it's not there. But it's this fear of being really recognizable, of getting really, I almost want to say famous. And then there is this word of, stop it, Magdalena, this is like not fame. This is like when, you have like, you had 1,500 followers on Instagram. This is not fame. But I think that part of me doesn't want more recognition, because I am afraid that with more recognition, with more people knowing about me, with more people listening to my podcasts, with more people reading my blog, and so on and so forth, that I will be exposed to more criticism. And it is always like this. It's the rule of this world. So there are these two conflicting voices in me. One part of me really wants more recognition, and because with this I can touch more people, literally or metaphorically, with my words, with my message, which I think is important. And I would like more and more people to know about it. I would like more and more people to know about Lomi Lomi, and more people to know about breath and how important it is. And I would like to be able to reach more and more people, to teach them about the power of the body, and that it's such an extremely powerful tool that you have, and it's your gate to intuition. And I would like to be able to reach more and more people to educate about how you can feel good with yourself, with your physical body, how you can feel good with yourself on emotional and mental and spiritual level as well. And to teach about the importance of human connection and the importance of physical touch and the importance of hugging and holding hands and the importance of telling the people who are important to you that they are important to you, and so on and so forth. I have a message to put out there in the world. So there is this part of me that would like this recognition, but there is another part, equally strong, that is completely freaking out and panicking with the idea that, I don't know, I could be featured in a newspaper or in a TV or radio or whatever, because I'm like, no, 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 because then people will find out about me and they will be criticizing me. They will be criticizing everything about me, everything about what I say and how I say it, and this is going to be horrible. So it feels like in my business, I want to drive the car, but with the handbrake on. And again, this is one of the reasons why I'm talking about it right now in this episode. Like I told you at the beginning of this episode, there are fears that stop me from taking action, from doing something, from taking the next step. And I want to talk about them. Maybe something will change, maybe nothing will change, but I also want to be truthful and authentic and vulnerable in these podcasts. This is the assumption. This is the reason why I'm even recording this, when I started recording this in the first place. And this fear of getting criticized is somehow connected with, I'm checking the time and I feel that this podcast is already so long and I'm still far from finishing it, but I just hope that you find it interesting, or that maybe you are, walking your dog and it's a very long walk or something like this, and you enjoy listening to this podcast. Because there's one more thing that I want to mention about this fear of getting criticized. It's something that I discovered about me quite recently, and I still have, it's still a journey to accept it. So I have a feeling that I have a magnetic quality in me. And then it's like this voice in me, "Oh, Magdalena, you're magnetic, just shut up." But let me explain what I mean. By magnetic, I mean that on one hand, I really strongly pull people towards me. That there are many people who I know that they are really intrigued by me and inspired, and they want to be close to me, they want to work with me, they want to learn from me, they want to listen to my podcasts, they want to get a massage from me, they find me inspiring, they find me interesting, and they really feel this strong pull. And I have quite many people around me like this, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful for all these people. Thank you for you. Thank you for being here in this field, being around me. But being magnetic also means that I equally strongly repel some people away. That there are people, and I know that they are there, and it's only recently when I started to be aware of it, but I know that there are people who just cannot stand me, who think that I am fake, and they don't want to be around me, they don't like me, or think that I am a fraud, like I mentioned before, or they just get extremely irritated by me and they think that I'm a fake or something else. And I kind of feel that I have this magnetic quality that either I really strongly pull people and I pull the right people, or I repel people, which is also amazing, because I repel these people who I don't want them to be my massage clients anyhow if they don't vibe with me. So it's awesome in a way that I repel them. But the moment I realized it and I started to scan my life through this idea of magnetic quality in me, then I also realized that this is a part of my fear of getting criticized, because I know that some people really cannot stand me and they don't like me, and there is this little girl in me who is like, but I want everybody to like me. Can we just be nice to each other? And I just want everybody to like me. And then there is this adult Magdalena who is hugging this little girl right now, explaining to her, my love, but it's not gonna work like this. Not everybody is going to like you, and it's okay. And There will be some people who will criticize you. And now I take a deep breath in. There will be some people who will criticize you, and it's also okay. It's not about you. And that feels huge to say it. And I'm grateful that I put it out there. Okay, let's move to my life fears. There was a part of me that wanted to just finish this podcast right now, partly because it's already 50 minutes. Probably when I will edit it, it will be a little bit less, but it's already quite long. But there is also this part of me that doesn't want to talk about my life fears because it's much harder to talk about them than to talk about my business fears. When I talk about business, yes, I talk about myself because I'm a one-person business, but it's still easier to hide behind the facade of Aloha Magdalena, of a massage business. And when I talk about my life fears, they have nothing to do or very little to do with my work, with my job, with massaging, with teaching. But I promised you at the beginning, plus, like I said, this is the way, one of the ways to deal with fears, to just put them on the table and to find out that A, they are not so scary, and B, that many other people are afraid of the same things. So I have 3 of them on my list of fears. And the first one is the fear of being alone as a person. It's the fear of not having a family, not having a partner. And it's quite strong and quite present, this fear in my life. And at the same time, it's a fear that is a little bit in a background. It's not something that I think about every day. It's not a fear that I wake up with, but it's there. Probably because of the history of my relationship. I have a number of relationships that I was hoping that would be forever. I am this kind of hopeless romantic that always thinks that this is going to be forever. And then it turns out that it wasn't. So there is this part of me that is afraid that I will not create a successful is a stupid word, a happy and fulfilling relationship, or that I will not have a family. And there is a part of me that wants this more than anything, to have a beautiful supporting partner and to have a family. Oh, and it's really not easy to talk about it. Like, talking about your personal fears makes you feel like crying. Okay, let's move to another one. So this one that I'm going to talk about now, I feel that it's the biggest fear of my life. And it's the fear of wasting my life. It's the fear that when I die and when I look back at my life, that I will have regrets. And I will have a feeling that this was not a life well lived. You know what I mean? But this fear is actually very good, because this is the fear that pushes me towards being vulnerable and authentic, and towards living the life that I will not regret. Because when I die, regardless if it's in 5 minutes or 50 years, I would love to have this feeling that I lived a good life, that I was a good person, that I lived a good life, and that I can... I have chills and tears in my eyes, and to have this feeling that I can die in peace. Okay, this podcast is getting really emotional and a little bit heavy. But yeah, it is what it is. But like I said, this is an inspiring fear. This is a fear that makes me want to live a good life. And then the third fear that I have here is, I named it the fear of not walking my path, but comparing myself to others and walking their paths because they look better in my eyes, or something like this. It sounds a little bit complicated, but let me explain it, because it's really easy. So it's this... Okay, let's say it like this, that I have a feeling that I'm a person who on the one hand, um, I have really strong opinions. I have a strong backbone. I have my values, and I know that I am perceived like this as a strong person. But at the same time, I know that I can be easily influenced. I can get very easily fascinated by something or somebody, and then I compare myself to these people, and I'm like, okay, I love this person's life. I want to have a life like this. And then I kind of forget myself in this a little bit, and I try to be like somebody else. I try to live like somebody else, forgetting myself and my own gifts and talents and my energy that is mine and nobody else's, and that this is something that I'm supposed to give to the world. And I had moments in my life like this when I got so fascinated by some idea or some ideology or by somebody that I lost myself in this completely. So there is this, but this is something that I'm super aware of, but still there is this fear of not walking my path, not not comparing myself to myself, but to other people. And when you compare to yourself to other people, you are going to be constantly unhappy, and I don't want to live an unhappy life. So I put it on the list of my personal fears, even though it's at this moment it's not there. But every now and then it is there. And there are some people, people of the internet, that I extremely respect. I even like them, but I cannot follow them on Facebook or on Instagram, for example, because it just creates too much tension in me and too much fear that I'm not living my life like I'm supposed to. I should be having the life that they are having. And that's it. These are the fears of Aloha Magdalena in business. And these are the fears of Magdalena in life. And wow, like this episode was both very easy and totally not easy to record. So now I'm going to listen to it, edit it a little bit, cut out all the pauses so you don't need to listen to me being silent. And then I will hopefully post it. Thank you for you. Thank you for listening. And as always, you have my email in the description of this episode. If you want to share your thoughts, just send me a message. If you want to tell me about your fears, or if you want to tell me about anything that this episode awakened in you and that maybe touched you in any way, I would really love to know this, because this is the reason why I'm even recording this, to touch the world and let the world touch me. If you like what I do, if you like my podcast, please, please, please let other people know about it. You can send them a link, you can take a screenshot and post it in social media. You can just let them know when you talk to them about this one girl called Magdalena, one woman, you're not a girl, Magdalena, about one woman named Magdalena, known as Aloha Magdalena, and her Touchful Podcast. That really means a lot to me if you want to recommend me. Thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful time wherever you are, and you will hear from me, hopefully, again sometime soon. Aloha and bye bye.